LPC meeting. We're really glad you're here. Welcome. Do we have anybody participating remotely? Doesn't look like it yet, so we can, unless people do. I know Sharon is going to get on remotely to participate in the meeting tonight, but we don't have any voting members so far, so we can just, however we vote, we don't have to do it by name. First item of business on the agenda is to review and approve the meetings that Barbara gloriously sent out to us from March 5th, 2024.
Got him.
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes of March 5th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we will move on. Our next visioning event is Saturday. It is at the community center. It is a slightly different time, trying to get a different, demographic, if that helps people. It's from 1 to 3. Garrett may be traveling. I'm not sure about that. I have a conflict with my son, so I will not be able to be there. But we want to get the word out that we want as many people to come as possible. Saturday, April 6th, 1 to 3 at the community center. Spread the word was on the agenda. We were going to review actually how the session went on the 23rd, farther down on the agenda, but this was really just to get the word out that this coming Saturday, 1 to 3.
Yeah. Joyce, I had said I'd be at that one.
Awesome.
There's
Amazing.
nothing you have to do, right? You're just hosting.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it. This is important we cover early on in the meeting. We did identify committee members with both bunny ears, lays, and lobster ears.
Yeah, that's all right.
And I will have to get those to you guys. No, it was well received.
Yeah, it really was.
Mary held on to hers. Yes, it was appropriate. It was fun to identify the committee members.
I had somebody ask me, what happened to your ear?
Yes, Barbara had a little flat ear. Yeah, it was good. David looked amazing. His bread is awesome. Good. Christine, I think the food and the coffee was well received.
Yes.
Great.
We shared the extra with the fire station and the police officers. Thank you, Mary and Barbara, for sending that over.
Wonderful.
There was some extra, so that was good, but more the same, I guess.
Yep.
Cool. All right, we'll cut on. Cruising through some just factual things. May local planning committee meeting conflicts with the second night of town meeting. So we can open this up to discussion, but my thought, I had worked on this a little bit with Sharon and Christine before, is we're at some point in drafting actually some language of the comprehensive plan that Sharon thought we could do some work in breakout sort of small sessions individually by sections and then meet again in June. Because obviously, we want to go to the second night of town meeting. I don't think we'd have a conflicting LCP meeting. But that's open for discussion.
That sounds like a productive way of using our time. It'd be something different.
Go through the breakouts of what those.
Yes, Sharon will, hopefully Sharon will be able to join us. I think she was going to be participating remotely. But Sharon had a vision of we can't not do anything for the month, but, or for 8 weeks, but she had a way of, I think, making it productive. David, I can see the wheels turning on David's.
We don't have to meet every month.
Correct.
Yeah, there's no
Correct.
rules
It was
here.
just, we have set aside through the end of the year, the first Tuesday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Any further discussion or thoughts about that?
So would we do these as little groups at different times?
I think some of this would be some email work.
Okay.
Yes, on some.
Or a Zoom work.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and being very respectful of open meeting law as long as you don't have a quorum and stuff like that. And it's and then we will review. So basically, it's working on some drafts of the comprehensive plan language, and maybe working on that, and then we can review it all in June.
I hate to be a little wet blanket, but
That's
our
okay.
meetings are usually ahead of when the town meetings are.
No,
Town meetings are
it's-
7?
Town meeting is the 6th and 7th, and the
No, it's
7th.
time of day.
Oh,
Timing.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh.
but no, I'm not going to come to the meeting. I'm going to town meeting. Town
it's an
meeting,
interesting question.
But it doesn't
No,
start till 7.
we love all opinions.
Right, but-
We love all opinions.
I'd be available to meet earlier
Yep.
if that was part of the breakouts. I mean, we could still, some teams could meet.
Town meeting goes very late, so
Town
I'll
meeting
save all my energy for that.
yeah, it starts at,
Starts at 7.
starts at
so
7.
Whenever they have a quorum. and
Yeah, so,
Second night,
dinner?
it typically,
Well, there's
right,
certainly
I'm sorry,
time.
I think it's.
When I worked, I used to say food was a reward mechanism.
I don't think it's a good idea to do it on
No,
town
I
meeting
don't
night.
either. It's
I really don't.
overload for,
I mean, if we want to schedule a meeting for later in the month or something, that would make more sense to me.
I think the breakouts are a good idea, though.
I like the breakout groups.
Yeah, working
I'm
groups.
always find it very challenging to meet with a large committee, so I
Yeah.
like breakout groups
Yep.
in general.
could be fun.
Okay, more to come about that, but I think everyone's expressed their sentiment that it's not like everyone yeah. But I do, Brian, appreciate your view of the calendar, that there we could meet with conflict, without conflict.
Well,
I love
technically,
that.
I stay the whole meeting, and they can go late. People
Yeah.
come for their particular agenda item they're concerned about, and then get what they want and walk out. And I've actually seen one time, it doesn't happen that often, but I have seen one time where someone recalled the question after people had left, and they didn't realize that until
I
that
haven't
night's
seen that.
session is over.
Do you remember what that was for? Because I haven't
It's
seen
a
it.
long time ago.
Yeah.
It was about
That's
8,
amazing.
10 years ago, but people don't realize that about it, so
I know it's possible.
I'm in for the whole thing,
But it's
so,
still
and I'm
active.
with Margot, I need to eat before I go do that, so, oh,
We'll give you a candy bar.
God, no.
They are intense, and and structured in a way that is challenging for someone to go work the next day. But so it affects participation and stuff like that.
Bite some child's head off.
Yes.
Really not-
Always late the first night.
Okay, so in theory, we have a little working for Agenda C that we're gonna probably have, we're gonna focus on the text of or some small sections of the actual comprehensive plan text, and then review, and deliberate on that in June. But more to come, look on the updates for me. Agenda item D is Christine. Thank you for being here. We were kind of thinking about a little update, and it doesn't have to be anything sort of formal, but it's related to town meeting. We thought we wanted to hang the banner, so to speak, verbally at town meeting. And then the second kind of part of that agenda was, I'll transition to about town boards, but tell us about town meeting.
Sure, for town meeting, I was told that if the committee wants to make a
Yeah.
brief presentation at town meeting, we should coordinate with the town moderator
Okay.
and to ask to be part of that agenda. And in terms of other boards, you can always ask to get on their agendas. In terms of the select board, you can get on their agenda via two ways. One, either come to their meeting and ask to speak during the public comment period if it's something brief, or if we want to designate a set amount of time to talk about the LCP. They recommended that we talk with Jeff Handler, who I think is the liaison for the LCP, and he will then coordinate the LCP to get on incoming select board agenda.
Okay. To the first part about the thing about town meeting, I think we should reach out, if you were able to, on our behalf, reach out to Mr. Ford. That would be lovely. I think we should make an announcement. Last year, we were just starting the process, and we were kind of, without a consultant and a different town planner, and so it was very much just waving the flag, hey, we're here and we're doing this, without belaboring town meeting being super long. This is a good thing. I mean, Sharon's not here yet, so we could discuss this a little bit. How much time would we like to ask for to actually make a presentation potentially?
I think pretty short. Because people want to move on to the,
Yeah.
the heart of the meeting.
I think you're right. It's
Yeah.
the people will be interested, or at least some will, and so it's good to take that opportunity. And there are people at home watching too. But especially the people that are there, I think you'd feel like we know it's gonna go long already. There's other things to be debated,
Yeah.
and that maybe a 10-minute
Oh, I would say.
My feeling would be 5 minutes.
even. Yeah.
5-minute synopsis of what we've done,
What
and
we've
where
done,
we're going,
Yeah.
and our
'Cause
dates.
people are there for a whole bunch of other
Right, that's
stuff.
not what they're, that's not what they're there for.
5
and-
minutes can make people aware of it and really hit the
Right.
highlights.
Yep, I agree.
Is there time for people to ask questions?
Oh, no,
No,
no, this is
You
just
wanna
a
do that.
presentation.
You don't want to do that.
don't wanna
There's
do
a
that.
whole formal,
So
have
is
you
it.
been?
Yeah, I did
At
it
town
last year.
meeting?
Yeah, I did it last year.
Okay,
Yeah,
no,
I did it last
There's
year.
a whole formal way,
I,
if you're going
um,
to speak at town meeting, you have to get up, get recognized, get permission, and we can't hijack that whole thing.
Gotcha.
Yes, so I guess we should be we should request from Mr. Ford. Go ahead.
I was just thinking that, I agree with the 5 minutes, but to me, it's so important to thank the people that have participated. Because people
Yes.
sitting there have
Yes.
already
Yes.
given their input in the surveys.
Yeah,
Thank people that have come to the workshops.
yeah.
That might be more than half of your 5 minutes to say, our goal was to be open and participatory, and, we're finding good things, stay tuned, look at the website,
Well-
and we want to thank you for
Yeah.
participating.
This is a little bit of a natural segue to kind of where I was going with this. So I guess, yes, thank you, Christine, for helping us get on the agenda. And I'm happy to fall on that sword, but I don't need to if somebody else wants to do it.
Fall so nicely, though.
There is, thank you, there is a sentiment, there is a lot of data that we have collected that is actually relevant to agenda items at town meeting. And I don't think it's necessary, in 5 minutes, when we don't have slides, well, you have to ask them, but I don't think we're gonna have slides. There's not typically, I don't remember that there's usually
There's a
not
screen
projection there.
for hard of hearing and.
right, so there's not like projection capabilities here. I have kind of thought about it, and we can talk about it for the second round of the visioning this Saturday, of what we do with that. And I guess I'm kind of thinking out loud here, it's probably outside of town meeting.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we're a year ahead of it being used, right? I mean, isn't the framework that we're trying to create, hoping to frame it's the long-term vision against which you're making short-term decisions.
Right.
So our hope is that what we're creating is very forward and very useful a year from now.
Yeah, and I think it goes to, so Christine, maybe she's coming, if she's coming. Maybe that's her coming in. What I thought was really useful, and this it kind of goes on to session part E of the agenda, even though Sharon's not here yet. A useful point of feedback in the visioning session, which I really took to heart, was what we've said, but the way it was said is it's only as good as if you use it. And there was a very distinct suggestion to how do you get it used is get this plan as it's developing before every committee in the town. As many as you can, and so that it's not, we all want it to be our plan and everybody's plan or whatever, but the very practical advice that was given there, how does somebody even know it exists or even think it's their plan? Here they are volunteering their time for the town and sitting on a committee and things like that, is if they have, they've had all these opportunities, of course, to participate in it, but like actually getting it on their committee, which I thought was very wise. And it's kind of open for discussion about the timing of that. And, if we're making some specific suggestions, maybe then we want to get on the committee agendas when we actually have something fairly provocative, not provocative, but, concrete to say, as opposed to, it's not like, hey, we're doing this, because I think the word has gotten out that, hey, we're doing this, but it may be a little farther down the line, even say like maybe this fall, like, and this is what we're recommending, say, about water or trees or something, and going to, that's what I kind of digested. But this is a good opportunity if we want to like jump, because it looks like somebody came on and off, about feedback about the session and what they took away from it and things like that. Go ahead.
As far as reaching out to town committees? is that
Sure,
the
go
question?
with that where you will. Yeah.
Okay, we've hit a couple already. I hit health. Bernadette, you went to one of the committees, I believe.
I was out at, Brian and I and Garrett, I think, was there two, were at the East Harwich,
Oh, no,
that's a
okay.
grass food.
I thought you
grass-
were.
Full
yeah,
town
grassroots.
committee, not
I
not
thought you
real
were-
town
I
committee.
hit
so
historic.
misunderstood. Oh, that's who you, so I mixed up
Yeah.
the two, you, I
That's
apologize.
okay.
Barbara Bernadette.
I think that I would like to see us start moving from the input gathering stage to the, making some choices and some putting things out there. So at this point, I wouldn't spend a lot of time going out to committees for input.
Correct.
I think at this
Agreed.
point, I would really start working on, and I would start with housing, pulling together some concrete suggestions,
Yes.
and when we
Yes.
have something, then to go
Yes.
back to the committees.
Yes, so it may be around the timing, because I would anticipate, one of the things that like I kind of internally groaned a little bit when he said it, but I totally appreciated what he was saying, is it's a lot of input to get onto everyone's, so team ball here, to get on everyone's agenda is a lot of work. But we have a wonderful team, and just thinking about the timing of that, maybe like August or September, are we gonna have something concrete to say, and somewhat, not provocative, but concrete?
Well, I think we should go to the committees, and at this point, I think, as you say, we should have something more concrete to run by them.
And I think one of the things that we want to cover when we do meet with various different town committees is what their role will ultimately be in implementing some of the recommendations of the local comprehensive plan. Because, the questions that we heard from the public are, how is this going to be implemented? Is it just going to,
Yeah,
are
that
you
was
just going to
big.
write something and have it sit on a shelf?
Right.
Or are you going to engage the people who actually are charged with working in these various different disciplines to follow through on it?
Would it be fair to create an action in that review? And I agree, it has to be something concrete, and it's a framework, and it could even be the 4 tables that you had kind of frame some of the key recommendations, but there's got to be some framework to it. Would it be fair to ask of those committees that we go to, how do they align to it? How do their current plans line up? If they can't do it in that interactive session, maybe we ask them to work on that for a month or 2 months and to give us feedback as to how it aligns,
No.
which kind of brings us down the path.
I think that's very smart, and I think what is being said at that meeting, and please feel free to disagree with me or discuss this. What was being said at the meeting and both the postcard and the in-depth survey, there are prevailing sentiments there that perhaps like action in town committees or, sentiment around issues at town meeting or what's sitting before the Board of Selectmen that feel very different. And I think that's when and feel potentially at tension with one another. So I think that was what was being asked. If it's clear imperfectly that this is a prevailing sentiment, concern around trees, second home development, things like that, how do we see some change? I mean, that is what was being said without being said, and that's why I was kind of like bringing it here for discussion of that this is why we're doing it at one time, doing it over time, it's also like relevant. So, yeah.
I mean, I still think we're trying to find where the gaps are.
Yeah.
Right, so if we're setting the strategy, then each
Yeah.
of those committees have to help us with, all right, how do they gap? Do they align, or are they further behind? And that's part, I think, of our recommendations as we go before the town committee a year from now.
Yeah, no, and I think it's an ambitious goal, but I think there's wisdom there.
But it's part of the plan is not just setting goals and policies, but, you know, actions, you know, specific actions that can be taken to follow through.
Yeah.
And that's really where the meat of this thing is.
It'd be nice if we put
Someday.
on, but it's nice if we put the onus on some of those committees to gap against what our vision is. That makes them an active player.
Yeah, I mean, even there's at least an opportunity even to disagree or say, no, this is why, quote, you can't do this, or, yeah, right. Okay, so that's helpful to me, I think, just in terms of our timing, and keep us posted at town meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in terms of meeting with the town boards and committees, you had indicated summertime, someone else had indicated the fall, so.
I guess can we table it a little bit? It's probably gonna get a sense of how much some of this like work goes in the next 8 weeks about some of our smaller sections. The reason I would love to do summer, but it feels like August, everything grinds to a halt around here, and then, you know, of course, and then the world restarts in September, so.
No, it's a good goal to have, and I think it's very important to solicit the input, but also, to Margot's point, in terms of the implementation, there has to be that continuity and involvement, and support from other
Yeah.
boards and committees, so.
I think the
I
alignment's
think that's
great.
that's very important, and, so I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's not like they haven't had the opportunity to participate, but if you go to their meeting agenda and get on it, well, it's like forced participation. You know, I mean, we could have had, you know, some session where everyone, you get what I'm saying?
I do,
Yeah.
I do. And, you know, it's volunteer boards.
Yes,
They're
right.
doing a lot.
Right,
and
that's what I mean.
so
Right.
I think if there's the opportunity, whether it's myself or. a couple
Yeah,
of
any one of
members
us, any one of us, yes,
Doing that extra.
is
think
capable of doing
It
this.
definitely has to be approached as a collaborative effort.
Yes.
And seeking their, if not input, but, you
Yeah.
know, not
Guidance,
coming in and telling
wisdom,
that
yes.
committee that
Yes.
already exists to do that thing,
Yeah.
how to do their job.
Correct,
Yeah, I
correct.
mean, for example, a lot of what will likely come out of this is some recommendations for changes in the zoning bylaw.
Mhm.
The planning board is charged with doing that.
Yeah,
And so you can't just do it around them, you have
Right.
to do it through them.
barge in and tell them, this is what you have to do, but
Right.
to say,
Right.
to solicit their assistance and.
Through these workshops or those alignment, I keep calling them gapping, you know, because they've got to see where they are relative to what our strategy is. Isn't that a great technique for the zoning board to very early on say, oh yeah, we can work with those, or those recommendations make sense to us?
Oh, they want to feel, I mean, just think of like, they're working hard.
Right.
It has to feel like theirs too.
Yeah,
It-
that's really
You
critical.
can't feel like you're going in and telling
Yes,
them.
we're so
to
smart.
Do their job,
Yeah.
because they've existed
We want
beyond
to do
and.
consensus
you know,
building and
Yeah.
to garner buy-in.
I know, but you know what I'm saying is,
I do.
all these boards already have existed and have been struggling to do their work for years in between plans, and it's really important that you're going in to garner their thoughts and assistance and collaboration, not, you know, I could see where
Yes,
boards that have been working
Yes.
hard for a long
Yes.
time, and sometimes are just as frustrated that they're not
right.
making the progress they'd like to feel that we're coming in and telling them.
Yeah, no, and I think this is helpful in that we have an opportunity to interact with them in their official capacity and not, and good.
And I didn't mean to say it that way.
No,
Why
yeah,
But I guess, you know, my point is that I want to make them an active participant rather than just,
But you can't say, I want to make them, see what I'm saying?
no, I didn't.
That's what I'm saying, you don't mean, I know you don't mean it that way, but I'm
It's,
I'm playing devil's advocate, thinking about,
What we'd like to do is bring our
Yes.
thinking we've already had their input, and asking them to, with their plans, how well does that align to these strategic drivers that we have?
perfect, what you just said.
is Sharon on? We just see caller. Is that you, Sharon?
Yes, it is, and
Oh.
I apologize for being remote, and I can't share a screen right now, but I did send over just a little bit ago a Word doc and a PDF that summarizes the work of last weekend's workshop. So I
Perfect.
sent that to Christine and Joyce. Yep, and So you can share it, and I can listen and, provide feedback. But I apologize for my
Well,
limitations
no,
right
no,
now.
you're right. You're right on time. Let me get
You
into
get that.
my email, and we can, with you on. I wanted to actually keep it a little bit more general for everyone to kind of review a little bit. This just went to Christine and I. Okay.
Maybe you could just email it to all of us.
Look at it.
We can look at it,
All right. Well, with that, because I can multitask to a point. Does anyone want to say kind of what they thought was the pros, positives, and maybe points of improvement after last Saturday? And I'll email it all to you.
Well, I thought it went really well with the people that we had there, but we didn't have very many people there. That was the big disappointment. And I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it was certainly well advertised. And, in the newspaper and on the town website and all of that, but, I think,
There you go.
people are busy and.
Yeah, I don't know. In changing times, I've been doing a lot of ruminating on this, digesting on this. People are busy. If we have lost potentially an appetite for community discourse in that kind of setting, I don't know. Because we had so many people participate digitally. In the sense of, really spend a lot of time thoughtfully filling out these surveys and offering their opinion. It's not that people don't have opinions.
Right.
Almost the same time last year, I'd had to do the same thing because the MCC mandates it for the cultural councils every 3 years. And mid-March, we had done a community engagement thing. Same thing. I know we worked really hard to make sure it was well publicized in print media, all the traditional ways, as well as social media, and it was a very small turnout. Really under 10 people.
And David had pointed out that the people who did come were very well informed.
Yeah, it was a good, small group of people.
Preaching to the choir.
I think, I just forwarded what Sharon sent to us. I mean, I think the mechanics of it worked just fine, Sharon. It wasn't like we, the room was appropriate, the food was nice, the coffee was nice, we were all, and I know
that David sent comments about changing the format for this Saturday's workshop. So, when you get to that point, I'd love to hear any feedback on that.
I was just gonna say that, we can, I know within the, Ed is calling me. Do you think the back door is open?
Oh.
So I just saw somebody else come in.
Heard people coming in,
Oh.
so.
Yeah, I think it's open.
Should be always be here.
I don't know if Ed's calling me. Okay. I know there's limited, I appreciate how much effort Tag and Bond, put into, the printing, the legit, that's not, none of that is off the cuff. You made it look easy, but it takes a lot of effort. So I appreciate what you're saying of, I don't think we can make any huge, big printed changes between now and Saturday, but we've got such a good team here. There's probably an opportunity to tweak a few things, what we're asking people at the different stations. Maybe an opportunity for anybody want to jump in about that.
I have to agree, we did have a well-informed crowd, and that really at least helped my position as far as engaging with them. That's one of the first things. There was an idea about, instead of each group as a whole moving from station to station,
Right.
to be able to break it up so that people can actually mingle with other
I
people
thought that was
at
a good
various
idea,
stations.
actually.
I don't know how difficult that would be to navigate, if you will, but I think that does open up that brainstorming, if you will, just being able to talk with various people.
I think that was and you know, we might not have, I think it's a great point. We may not have noticed it if you had 50 people come because, you know, like, you know, groups of 12 moving around, you weren't, but we had Ed. Oh, he's okay. All right. When you had groups of, I think it's okay, Brian, he just texted me, it's okay. If you have small groups moving around, I mean, which also was kind of morale building, like, you know, the one group of 2 that was moving around, they were kind of chuckling, oh, I know exactly how you're gonna answer that question. They didn't know each other prior, but it was like a nice social interaction for them. So that's probably a great point of feedback, Sharon, depending on how many people come, if you wanna maybe mix it up a little bit more, like whether you have, you know, you assign the first session they go to and then everyone scatters and keep them 15 minutes, or I don't feel strongly about it. Oh, Brian and Margot.
That
David and
wouldn't be
Margot.
difficult to do. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, people could also choose. So if they didn't, you know, they didn't want to go to every station, you know, we could work it that way where, you know, you have your choice. Here are the 4 stations. Pick your favorite one to start. Then, you know, then switch after, you know, a period of time. So we can do that if the committee, you know, wants to go that route. So some people maybe wouldn't go to every station, you know, if you do it like that, but that's okay. Would something like that work, or were you thinking something different?
I think you're better off generating some random numbers to assign everybody when they walk in like we did the other day.
I would hate to limit the information to just where people want to go.
Right.
Because there's a wealth of information and new fact, because it's basically an educational workshop.
Yeah, right.
And to just say, okay, I'm just interested in this one topic and then I'm going to leave, that really restricts, I think, the focus of really the engagement that having with everybody.
I'm wondering if we could I'm wondering if we could do sort of a hybrid of what David suggested and the original format of this by taking what Sharon just sent us and mounting that on some boards so that you could both, and maybe as part of the presentation at the beginning, Sharon, you could highlight some of the findings that we had from the first workshop and say, you know, we're going to give you an opportunity to go, you know, put some dots next to the ones that you like and agree with. And then, you know, also ask you to respond to the same questions that raised these issues. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, I had planned to summarize the first workshop in that opening presentation. So I was going to have a few slides to talk about what we heard at the first workshop. And we certainly could print out and make it, you know, large format too, so it's easy to see, and people could affix dots to, you know, let's see if those comments get reinforced, and then kind of start people on the round robin again to see if there are more ideas. If that makes sense to you all.
These in prior order? Are these in the order of the most dots?
No, this is just a comprehensive list of everything we heard.
There weren't enough people there to give you a priority order, you know. I mean, there wasn't enough data there.
I've got two
Please,
different comments. One is that I feel that we've been getting 2 surveys and 1 forum. We're getting similar things.
Yeah.
And I think it is time to say, okay, what's important? It's time to move on. Now, whether we can really do that in this workshop, I'm not sure. But the idea was to take, as Sharon suggested, the stuff that came up at the first workshop, put it out there, and have people say, well, this is really important, or this is really important, or you missed this. In other words, just to react what was said at the first one and then move on.
I would.
Let me say one more
Go
thing.
ahead, please.
The other very different comment is, if our numbers are really small, again, I think 4 groups are too many. What you could do is have 2 groups, one with housing and land use and growth, and cover both of them, and then the other 2. And that way you'd have more people in the group, you might have a little more more discussion.
I was going to
Yeah,
say,
that's a great idea, David.
no, I think it's awesome.
Sorry,
So
I,
you have
I
to,
don't
you-
mean to interrupt. 'cause
No,
I-
please,
'cause I
please.
can't see you all, but.
no, it's good.
No, I think that's a great, that's a great idea to combine, if it is a small, small group. So we could bring the same boards, we'll also bring, additional boards with the comments from the first workshop. And if it's a small turnout, then yes, let's double up and then you'd have more conversation. I think it's a really good point. Thanks.
It's easy for me to say, I'm not going to be there, but I would encourage you to kind of to pick up where David was going with it. If I were to say what was if I had to do it again, what I would do differently last time was there was concurrent sentiment about the issues and challenges. I would have perhaps been a little bit more interventionalist about like, well, hey, what do you think about this possible solution? And I think that's what you're saying, or this possible intervention. And not that they just, how do you even kind of come up with those is encouraging anybody who's able to be there Saturday is to obviously familiarize yourself with this, which Sharon will help us with and everything. But if you really dig into that survey and kind of,
So let me give one anecdotal example, and I got a witness who can back me up on this. One of our participants was talking about, said, well, you've got to get density. If you want the affordable housing, I'm sorry, I'm looking in your direction, but you got to have more density. So I pushed back on him. I left my role as moderator and said, well, what I'm worried about is in a seasonal community, you can have more density, and I've seen it happen in Harwichport, and you still won't get low-cost stuff. You'll just get more dense, high-priced stuff. And he said, well, yeah, but then you need public programs to supplement. So the point being, pushing back
yes,
on somebody who's just
Yes.
saying density may yield a different result. So that's just one
Yeah.
example
Well,
of developing a theme a little further.
what I heard people, it's saying, like the anecdotal example I heard was like, tree cutting. And it was offered as a tree cutting ordinance or something like that. And it was kind of tossed out there as a potential solution or something positive or whatever. No, I know. I'm agnostic about it. I'm not, but it's just a good example of something that, okay, if all ideas are on the table here, putting some ideas out to kind of as a fishing lure and kind of see, and it has to be a dynamic sort of thing. You have to kind of see who shows up, what the sentiment is. I'm just, as we're all saying that we're moving less from the data gathering, more into actually saying something.
In my view of this process, we can only do a little bit of that this coming meeting.
Yeah.
I think if Sharon retools like she's just suggesting, that would give us a little bit different feedback, and I think that's great.
Okay.
And I'm just going to jump beyond this workshop and say, we've been doing pretty general stuff for months now. And we got to start getting more focused and more specific in specific areas. We've got the survey, we got some nice things from I think our big survey has been our best input so far. But we really need to start diving into that. Now, so we got relatively general high-level stuff in a number of different forums that we've been going back and forth with a group of 10 or 11 people. And the one thing we have which is much more detailed is a housing production plan, which has an incredible amount of detail. And yet, in the 3 months since we've had it, we've given almost no feedback. So I think we need to just start getting more specific and more action-oriented. Whether it's at this workshop or not, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But having said that, I agree with you, but we can't just have one topic. So what would be your second and third topics if we?
Oh, no, I mean, we're not going to change it. I mean, I think we've kind of got a format that works a little bit for Saturday, We're just,
I meant
Yeah.
just in general. You-
What I would do is follow up on Joyce's suggestion to have breakout groups, make sure one of them is housing, and then figure out what all the rest are after that.
any other, okay, we generally have a plan for Saturday.
For us,
Yeah.
not for the-
We generally have a plan for Saturday. Any other feedback?
Just one.
Thoughts
One
about it?
comment. I'm not gonna be able to be there.
Okay.
'cause we're going out of town tomorrow and for a while. But, several people commented, David and I ran a group together, and,
It was a great group.
It's a heck of a group, two professional planners.
You can't do that.
we,
The rest of us were just.
David was the facilitator, and I was the scribe. So I was taking notes on sticky notes, of what everybody said and putting them up on the board. And several people said to us, after they'd done some of the other sessions, that they liked having somebody else writing the stuff down. It didn't mean that they couldn't write their own notes and add them to the wall.
Yeah.
But it allowed them to have more interaction with one another, and more of a discussion rather than sitting and just writing out things to put on the board. So I think it's important to have a scribe, basically. And Sharon, are you going to have staff to act as scribe at each table?
Well, we'll have staff again. One addition for this Saturday will be Karen Sunnerboard, which should add an interesting element in terms of the housing discussion. I just wanted to make note of that. We should have 4 of us again, so depending on the size of the group, and I think it's a really good idea to have a scribe, have a facilitator and a scribe.
It's a great point of feedback. It wouldn't be intuitive to me that gets people going. But that's awesome. That's an easy way to set yourself up.
If the committee members if we have enough committee members that can attend, we can split up. We could have a committee member and a Ty and Bond member, at each of those tables potentially. So we'll have 4 of us. If there are 4 committee members, I don't know if that many can attend that idea, and so we could team up at each table. Now, if there's a small group and we combine those boards, that's even more people to help with the scribing. So I think Margot's got a really good point there, and we'll do our best to be either the scribe or the facilitator, depending on the committee's comfort.
Okay. Caleb, is this anything we're supposed to be paying attention to? No. Okay. Avert our eyes. Okay. Yeah, no, I just didn't know if it was something I didn't know about.
An example of affordable.
No. It's okay. All right. Be not distracted, committee. All right.
Christine, are you going to be able to come on Saturday?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be
Okay, and so Brian, are you going to come?
Yeah.
And David, are you going to be
I'm
there?
going to be rolling in right at the start, so I will accept any assignment, but I won't be able to get there early.
I'm going to be there, because I remember last time you were saying you couldn't be at
Yeah.
the second one, and I couldn't be at the
Right,
first one, so.
Right.
I will not be there.
Okay, and Joyce?
there.
I am not going to be there, but these 3 will be there. Yeah.
Okay, well, so that's
okay.
enough.
That's
to
the long,
have
yeah,
one of us
long,
at each
long,
one of the
yes,
tables
yes.
then.
Just
Yeah.
scribe at
Yes.
whatever
Yeah.
table they assign me to.
Ed will be there. Ed said he was planning
Okay,
on be
great.
there. One of you should, practical logistics, nominate yourself to just, Sharon gave an awesome introduction, but you can give the face of the committee a little brief introduction, which I had done. Just, we're glad you're
Is
here.
Garrett?
Joyce, can we borrow the bell? Because the bell was outstanding.
Oh, you like the bell? Yes, yes. And I was
yeah.
saying I'm gonna give the ears and the lays and the lobster claws and everything. I meant to put them in my trunk tonight to pass them off. You can bring the tiara. I'm actually, going to be at the community center that morning for baseball, so I'll get him to the right. I'll get him to the right place. Don't worry. We'll keep the bell. Any other big or small points of feedback about the session?
I just want clarification, and
Sure.
again, I know that there's going to be some changes, if I understand correctly, to have it, this session, almost like piggyback off of the last one, where to move it more quickly along, allow people to have more discussion will they be able to have a listing or something retooled so that they see what the responses are from the first forum?
Yes.
And then they do get to agree and
Yes.
everything? I think that really will move it along quickly.
Sounds like that's
Because
what,
that seems to be one of the things we had issues with. People weren't sure what was the question was. And so to have that piggyback from the first forum to this, where they can get those ideas and actually engage by putting that physical sticky mark, whether they agree or not, that's a quick method to get them engaged and move it along, I think, and allow that to happen. I just needed that clarification.
one thing,
The
Sharon,
answer is also, yeah,
No, go ahead, please,
Joyce,
go ahead.
wasn't able to send it from my location, but we do have a spreadsheet of all of the comments. So we can, we won't provide it in spreadsheet form, but we'll provide summaries copies of the summary of the comments. So people will have those at the table. So we'll give the presentation, but we'll also have handouts. And that way people can refer back to those if that's helpful.
And Sharon, can you do boards so that they could literally go up to the board and put a dot next to something that they agree with?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and we can have like handouts as well. I'm just thinking like we can have the boards, and then we can also have 8.5 by 11 sheets of major themes again. Probably people won't want to read every single comment. I mean, they may, but we can group them into themes. And I'll send that spreadsheet along as soon as I'm able to for you all to look at. But we can summarize those in both a board or two and handout.
One ironic, in the summary of comments, under housing, we have, Sharon, we've got 6 bullets, and under community facilities and services, we have almost 20. So I think that just means that that's a more scattered topic.
can I say a little practical note too? Again, I've revisited this a lot in my mind, done a lot of deep thinking. Be not distracted by the pool. Like, the pool is a fine thing, but just don't be distracted. That's this, we have our core issues, and it's like a squirrel moment, like going on the neither good nor bad or whatever, but like yes, like that's yes, that's a just we have it's not. It relates to some of our core issues, but not all of them.
To that point, we have 3 separate bullets.
I know. That's why I know.
Okay, you're ahead of me.
One point that I think we missed, Sharon, but it'd be nice to maybe revisit on Saturday, is we had planned to make sure we included the vision statement for the town to the session. And
Yes.
if we could do that the second time here, that'd be cool. In whatever format you think. We haven't taken that to the peoples at all. So.
No, that's a really good point, and maybe what I can do is summarize it in the PowerPoint, and then if you'd like, we can make that a handout that people could have. We could even have that be sort of a side topic too. I mean, it could be something people could react to. You don't want people to wordsmith it, however.
No.
Because, their game.
Maybe like,
here, but yes,
like
we can definitely make that available.
thumbs up or thumbs down or something simple like that. I don't know,
Okay, let me think about that.
Yeah.
But we can definitely include it in the presentation at a minimum, and then think about the best way to, if you all want to roll that out as a draft, we'll figure out some interactive way that maybe while people are getting coffee, we could go over and take a look at that rather than make it a focal point. It can just be sort of another thing, another kind of interesting thing for people to look at. And thumbs up, thumbs down. Hopefully it's thumbs up, right?
Yeah, no, it's a pretty good statement, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good feedback. Thank you. Yeah, great.
I do
Go ahead, Mary.
have a question. I'm not sure if it's premature to do this because we have both of the forms, but the way that the entire exercise in the development of this is one exercise is then developed to another one. It's all graduated. So I'm wondering, is it premature to put any of this information on the webpage to generate interest, that this is what the first forum produced? Put it out there and then advertise that. Now, you want to say something, the more informed, now
Right.
we've got something that the more they know before they come in, and they know that the forum is to be used as really a point of discussion and to be able to comment further on it, would that be helpful to bring more people in and to have them more engaged?
It's Tuesday. It's
I know,
Saturday. I know. But it actually, it's a great point. One of the it was actually we got the postcard data up on the website, which is awesome. Is our survey data? I didn't look recently. Is the survey data up there yet?
I think we put, I think we have put up
The link to it
a postcard data.
Yeah.
And we are trying
to get the survey.
the survey data
Yeah.
up as well.
Because agreeing with that sentiment of both transparency and building on one of the things,
So the answer
Yeah.
is no.
okay,
Not
all right,
that.
all right. But I recognize that that's a little tricky because it's a bigger file. Yeah, yeah.
It's a bit more challenging because the town is transitioning its website, and the timing, it's difficult to get any other updates, but I will work with the IT and try expedite that as much as possible, Mary, because I think getting as much information out is really important to the public.
And I'm sensitive to that point. I was unable to get, you're all sharing the bullet points that you have. But I'm assuming it's basically a synopsis of the information collected from the first forum, and it's on a one page. Make it a PDF.
Yeah,
and throw it up there.
it's maybe a little unpolished. I'm not criticizing it at all. It's maybe a little maybe a little unpolished to like post, but I think not forever, but for on the website. But I think Sharon will do a really good job of at least using it to step up on the next session, which I
Okay.
think is coming from what you're saying and David's saying, and yeah. I mean, if there's other thoughts on it, but it looks a little rough to me to put on the website. I mean,
Are you referring to, sorry, are you referring to the survey results or the workshop results?
we were muddling both, Sharon. So the survey results the survey results for sure we want to get up on the website, but we recognize that it's a big file. The website is changing. There are some nuances to that. We can put a man on the moon, but sometimes you can't post a PDF. And then I think what your workshop comments were a little rough to go on the website forever.
Oh.
They're not
They
definitely by any
are.
means.
Those are literally hot off the press. I apologize.
yeah.
No, they need to be need to be massaged a bit. So they will be smoothed out by Saturday for sure.
For a non-participant's eyes.
Yes.
They look like they could be a set of recommendations, and that's not really what we
Yes,
want
right,
them to be.
right,
So they're
right.
they're
Yeah.
too broad.
Yeah, and we will aspire to put some summary of these two sessions on the website eventually. So, okay. We're beating the horse. Any other last minute feedback about these sessions?
Horse is dead, dismount.
Right. Thank you. I mean, you look so slick Saturday. I mean, I was really wow. It was a really good committee. Okay. Sharon, I think you might have, if you hadn't heard, as you were getting on in the connection and things, we have, to double back a little bit in the agenda, we are not going to meet together all in a big committee meeting in May so as not to conflict with town meeting. But we have a real appetite and are very sensitive to the deadlines as we really want to move, use those weeks to move in small groups on kind of like the written parts of the comprehensive plan that you were talking about, that you thought this might be a good opportunity.
That's a great timing, great segue on that, because yes, we are working on at least two of those, the natural resources and the land use sections, and could perhaps bring another section forward in that May timeframe. But We would love to have, committee involvement during that month, however you decide to arrange that. We'll be happy to work with you. We've got some rough drafts, but we need to do some more work on those, get them in a form that, are pretty, tight and clear, and make sure we have as much information as we're able to gather for these existing condition sections, and then committee input. And then I did hear part of the conversation about other boards and committees, and that once we have enough volume of those sections done, or you could bring them to committees in pieces if you want, but either in part or in whole, bringing those to other committees for their input and review would definitely be really important, so we get well-rounded input from the people that are, like you said, are working hard on their specific issues and, have ideas, have concerns, things that need to be, brought, pulled into those reports. So happy to work with your subcommittees
Yeah.
as you during month May.
Do you think, to pick up David's point, and I really appreciate what he's saying, do you think we could dig into some meaty housing stuff too in the coming weeks?
Oh, absolutely. And Karen, she does still have on her plate, the part of her work is to have a specific housing workshop. So I don't know if it's too soon to do that, but I know that she really wanted, she was hoping that the input from the vision workshops would give her some more meat for her, for the housing production plan. But if not, I mean, that might be also a topic that, we could dive into more specifically with a focus group, a stakeholder group, and think about scheduling, getting that on the books as well, because that's definitely part of her work. And in order to move to goal strategy, she's going to need that input.
David's face. So, I think we got to get through this second session here. I think I'm speaking for all of us, and then probably
Okay.
by digging into as much true text as we can, it will become apparent what our next moves are.
Yeah, it will. Yes. And yeah. So the housing section, I mean, we can, we can jump to that. We can, kind of get that on the early side if that's a desire of the committee, because I know she's already done a lot of work on the affordable housing side. If we can, if that's something that you want to bring forward sooner rather than later, just let us know and we'll do that. So just, I guess, identifying a schedule over the next few months for the sections, the meaty sections, as you say, of the plan, the existing conditions, the inventory and analysis. What's your preference for what sections go first, and or do we need to have another kind of general discussion about that before we move in? I think it sounds like we're gonna just start producing those and meeting with subcommittees. So tell us if there's a particular schedule that issues that you'd like to bring forward sooner rather than later. That could be one of them.
I guess anything we can accomplish, we want to accomplish. I mean, housing has always been a priority, but there's things happening concomitantly here. There's going to be some lines in the sand at town meeting and things like that.
I mentioned housing a lot. I mentioned trying to get more specific and focused. I'm going to give one example. Karen's very detailed and very good report focuses heavily on the lowest income bracket. One of the interesting statements in her findings was that the biggest need in Harwich is in that lowest income bracket in terms of the number of people. I still don't understand that from my knowledge of this community. And in the survey, we've really had a focus on
The opposite, yeah, not opposite,
not
but
the
different,
opposite, but
different.
the next level up.
Yes, yes,
Who
yes.
are being priced out because of the
Right.
way our seasonal growth is occurring. So, one, I'd like to understand better the numbers behind Karen's report in terms of the lowest income and the number of people, and whether it turns out to be mostly just in the elderly category, or whether it is the community as a whole. Maybe it's in that report and I missed it. But I think that we can't turn our backs on that lowest, but we have to we have to respond to the survey and our own feelings that that next category up really needs a focus. But the techniques for that workforce, or whatever you want to call it, are going to be different. Karen very correctly points out that rental should be the focus for the lowest income category. But in that next category up, it may be both a very different focus in terms of rental versus homeowner, and more importantly, it may be much less of a just throw subsidies at it and much more involve the private sector builders and developers.
Regulatory.
But I think we really need to develop the strategies for each of those two sections, and I don't think we've gotten far enough.
So I think what we're answering your question, Sharon, is we want to fast track that a little bit. The housing, right?
Okay, we
Yeah.
hear you, I hear you.
And then,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But it sounds like you have did you say what was that you said that are kind of almost ready to go for a deep dive? What were the other two sections?
Well, so we have been working on what I'll call, it's not a land use section per se, but it kind of is. It's Harwich today. What's the existing land use patterns, growth, and what is the existing zoning? This is kind of like almost a preamble in a way that it's important to lay out what the town has now in terms of available land, restricted land, and cover that in a general way. So that's like a introductory section. And then we were going to start, and have been starting on the natural resources, which includes water resources, wetlands, wildlife, plant habitat, open space. It covers like that whole natural system element. So we've been working on that, and we can certainly make housing a next priority and get that, bring that forward, and that would cover not only affordable housing, that's capital A, but the attainable is starting to be the term of art now. The attainable housing, bring those issues, forward there are summary papers that become part of the plan later on, and they're good, like sort of discussion papers for. That would be a good topic then for a forum at a later date, and take a deeper dive into, what are some of the strategies. And I know Karen is anxious to do that. So
let's dig into those three. Let's dig into those three and.
All right. Great. Okay, we'll do.
With our June meeting, we have one meeting focused on each of those topics. June being one of the two she's working on, or housing.
Can we not even commit to that strategy yet? Let's get the topics and let's see what how much they have and how much we could accomplish in the next.
I think if committees, if there are like, I guess if you want, I don't know how you plan to work. Is it going to be two to avoid, open meeting law, having to post that kind of thing, with, subject matter experts, as we'll call you, that I know you had identified early on your areas of interest and expertise. So if we know like who those folks are for those three subject areas, we can, if we can't, with Christine's permission, work with Christine to organize maybe some Zoom calls, as we develop these papers to get early feedback. It might just be one meeting per topic. And then June, we bring back a pretty good draft of, those first three, and then we'll work on the next three, that kind of idea. You won't get them all at once because it's a lot of information to focus on all at once. But that's our plan if you're comfortable.
No, I think it sounds good. Christine had a point she wanted to make. Did you want to make a point?
No, I'm happy to help out with the subcommittees. I think that's good to keep
Yeah,
moving
yeah.
and to keep the momentum.
Yes.
And also, for Karen, I think, by June, hopefully, she will have developed some of the strategies and maybe some recommendations to do something by June for the housing production plan.
June's gonna be a big meeting, people. Big meeting.
Is she,
Maybe not. I'm just throwing it out.
Yeah, no. I'm agreeing.
is Karen getting feedback from any of the other housing groups, the Housing Trust, the
We've
Affordable
been,
Housing Committee?
she's presented to, not the housing committee, but the housing trust. She has
But is
gone
she
to
getting
the
any
planning
feedback?
board, and we have reached out to them. So I'll follow up with Karen in
Yeah.
terms of the level of feedback from, from those committees as well.
I think that's going to be really critical for the housing section, because we've got at least a couple of organizations in town who are really focused on that. And we can't,
You should include them.
we should definitely include them.
Yes,
They-
we've
they-
also
they need
reached
to
out to
be
include
consulted.
some of the local nonprofits as well as regional nonprofits
Yeah.
that are working on several aspects of the housing issue as well. So Karen and I have been reaching out to them.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's great, that's great. Did she actually meet with the trust, the housing trust?
She has.
Okay. With that, let's go to our last item on the agenda. I think before I transition, we have a general plan. We have to live a little bit in the gray, but I think we're all in the sentiment of like digging in. Sharon has the sense of the timing. We like our reasons for not having a meeting in May because of town meeting. And town meeting is also important sort of line in the sand in town, which actually I think will inform us in this as we keep trucking through this process. So I'm comfortable with that if everyone's comfortable moving on. Okay. Jim, you're up. Jim he wanted to bring to the committee here his plan for a little special group of the elders in town, and he wanted to get your feedback and bounce some ideas back about some specific input from the elders. So take it away, Jim.
Right, and just whether this makes sense or not. I guess even before we started talking about, having people get together, I was pushing the idea of getting together a set of people who have real understanding of what the needs of older adults are in our community. And so, but the vision I had in the beginning, and it's still good to know, so this is option one, there's option 1 and 2. The idea I had was to almost sort of bring together 4, 5, 6 people as like an afternoon retreat and have them really sit down and think about, well, what do we need? How important is Alzheimer's? How important is housing? How important is, getting people around and stuff like that? And the type of people I thought of were somebody from the Council on Aging here, of course, probably your husband, of course, and well, in addition to somebody from the thing, somebody who works in the county, and actually the woman who's in charge of older adult things in the county lives in Harwich and used to be head of the Council on Aging and our neighbors next door here, and so she really knows about that. And then maybe somebody from Outer Cape, sort of healthcare, and somebody from a Alzheimer group, somebody from a assisted living or some sort of stuff like that. Get them all together, and I think we could have a great vibrant, almost like retreat, for 4 hours. And we've done this a couple of other times in the council, the Friends of the Harwich Council on Aging. That's really worked. But then, of course, what we've done is sort of open, as a group, is really open these things up to the general public. And I guess my question is, should we just go with this small group and do it on sometime, or should we again add an invite to all the people in town, which would just make it another one of these activities that we've been having? So,
My opinion, you
Yes.
open it up to the actual people in Harwich who are affected by this plan and who are the people, rather than bringing in a panel of experts to tell them what they need. Or if you're to bring those people in, I think you open it to the general public. And we want to hear from the citizens that live here and are living daily these experiences.
Right.
in Harwich.
Although the concern, but I'm fine with that, but is that the people who are really have the needs are not going to come, because they're more housebound, they're more whatever, and these are the type of people who serve those people. But I think you're right. There are a lot of older adults who are headed in that direction, like some of us, and they at least are thinking about it and probably have paid more attention to it than.
Right, so you don't
yeah.
want
Yeah,
to
so.
invite them.
I was just gonna say, can you have both?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, have
Half
both.
of the population of your retreat be the actual citizens, and the other half be the experts, and be a nice blending.
Yeah, or another way of thinking about that is have it open with each of these so-called experts making a comment, and then it widens out to the whole group type of thing. Yeah, so at least it gets set up.
Yeah. So you sort of have a panel, and then,
Right.
and then, a larger group discussion.
That's
following.
right. Yeah, and it would be. But then the
Don't
question.
want to exclude anyone, or
Right.
appear
So-
to be.
But then the question is, what is legal? Do we have to invite every citizen to something like this?
Oh, you could have a little focused, yeah, you could like hit your demographic of yes, it's all legal, Jim.
Okay.
Everyone, people,
Yeah.
that demographic.
The older crowd,
That
maybe that
demographic.
comes to the community center and things like that, spread the word.
Jim, when are you hoping to do this?
So I would say, sort of probably sometime in May. My idea was to do it sometime in May. I could let it go as far as early June, but I don't know where it competes with other things here.
I think once town meeting's over, that would be a good time to
So
do it.
sometime in May would be fine. Yeah. Okay. And part of it is getting folks together, but and want to get out the word to the people that would like to show up. Okay, great. And I've talked to a couple of these people. They're all enthusiastic about getting involved. So.
Go forth and conquer.
Okay. It's interesting because when we first started, I thought, oh, older adults not going to be represented, and then of course we saw the survey and it was disproportionately older adults.
Yeah.
So they tend to take care of themselves also. But good.
I know it wasn't, Julie's getting ready to do a whole strategic plan there anyway, so she, definitely put her in the loop.
She definitely would be on the invitation list. But of course, that's just one part of what people need. Council on Aging is not going to start doing housing and things like that, but or assisted living or all those. But and just I'd like to force those into discussions of affordable assisted living and stuff like that. It's sort of some of it is not for your everyday person here. So.
Thank you for doing it. It's an important demographic, so I think you have a good, you're hot on the trail.
Okay, and of course, it'd be nice if some of you come.
As far, can Jim send us an email as to when and where?
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
just a logistics type of thing.
Yeah,
That should be an
As
open
long
meeting.
as you don't
Absolutely.
reply all, you're
Yeah,
okay.
okay. Yeah, I'll
Just
come.
at the top of your
great.
email, say, do not reply all.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, it's all good.
Okay.
We are very adherent, we're very transparent. I'm proud of us as a committee. We're doing it all out in the open here.
I guess something to add.
Please, go ahead.
In that same spirit, I've been trying to get together with the ministers
Oh,
in town.
nice.
And we finally, because then I was away. So finally, we're gonna do something in April.
Cool.
But since it was just myself, I was thinking that's okay to have.
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a focused,
yeah.
Discussion. We don't need, it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be.
No,
out
I think
there.
that's like to David's point, I guess they made this such a broad committee because it's such a broad task, but at times it's really difficult for too many, so the purpose, it's like subcommittees or
Yeah.
working groups.
Yeah, so that's a good.
There's not a quorum, you're gathering information.
Working group.
And what I'd like to be able to do though is use the vision statement,
Mhm.
use some of the active materials, survey results, and
I think you should.
thank you.
In fact, that was what I was going to end with. Well, I won't end with, we can open it to news business, but I am noodling on recording it and thinking about this, but it not concerns me, but it's a opportunity of seeing where all the sentiments that we have collected and how much reproducibility there is around that, and how kind of clear a lot of those thoughts are. I think it is our responsibility to try to socialize that and spread that word as much as possible as we're interacting in town and the town marches forward and we, one foot in front of the other, because it concerns me a little bit that there may be a divergence there in terms of the everyday sort of foot in front of the other running Harwich and what we're hearing. So an opportunity like that, I mean, the pastors, that's a nice benign group to spread the word, to say, here's what we've learned, an opportunity to have that kind of discussion.
And Garrett and I will do the same thing with the business community with a couple of boards.
Right.
And on that notion, do we have kind of a walk-around set of slides? I mean, you can see a vision statement, maybe some survey results. It would be nice if we all had at our fingertips
It's a great,
2 or 3 slides.
Sharon, that would be great. It could just be some version of the workshop slides we might like to have. Our elevator slides, so to speak.
Sure. I had a hard time hearing Brian, but I mean, anything that we have that we, had presentations on is all available for you to use or to, if you want to edit it down, make it something shorter, certainly available to you.
Okay. With that, any new business?
We can end early.
It's okay. We're efficient. It's okay. We're efficient. We accomplish things. Anything we miss, Christine? Thank you again for all your expertise. You're so grateful. I'm very proud to be on this committee. So thank you. Could we get a motion?
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? No. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you.
All right, so